Something shifted this morning before you even opened your eyes, before the alarm, before the coffee, before the first scroll through your phone. There was a moment, just at the edge of sleep, where something felt different. A quiet electric charge in the air, a sense that the ground beneath your life had moved a fraction of an inch. If you woke up today feeling like you are standing at the edge of something but you can't name what, that feeling is not random. It is not anxiety. It is not a caffeine crash or a bad dream. What you felt this morning is Venus crossing one of the most charged thresholds in the entire zodiac. And it is doing so right now, today, in a sky already crackling with some of the most powerful planetary tension of this decade. What is happening on March 6, 2026, is not a small astrological footnote. It is a turning point. And by the time this video ends, you are going to understand exactly why the last few weeks have felt the way they have, what is being asked of you right now, and what this cosmic shift is about to unlock in your life if you are paying attention. Let's go into the sky. Venus, the planet that governs how we love, what we desire, what we value, where we find pleasure and beauty and meaning. Venus has just moved into Aries, not slowly, not tentatively. Venus does not tiptoe into fire signs, it ignites. And at this very moment, as it crosses that first degree of Aries, it is being greeted at the gate by not one, but two of the most sobering, most transformative forces in the solar system: Saturn and Neptune. Think about that for a moment. The planet of love, beauty, and longing steps into a sign known for raw desire and bold declaration, and immediately finds herself face to face with Saturn, the great teacher, the cosmic architect of boundaries and long-term consequence, and Neptune, the planet of illusion, of spiritual depth, of the things we chase in dreams because reality has not yet caught up to them. Venus walks into Aries, and those two forces look her dead in the eye. This is not a gentle welcome. This is an initiation. And there is one reason this matters so much that most people completely miss. Saturn and Neptune have themselves only just recently joined together in this very first degree of Aries. Their conjunction, exact on February 20th of this year, was one of the most significant astrological events of this entire era. Saturn and Neptune together in Aries is a combination that only happens once every several decades. The last time these two planets met in any sign was in 1989, during one of the most profound political and spiritual reshapings the modern world had seen. And now, in 2026, they have come together again. This time in Aries, the sign of the self, of identity, of the individual will. And they are asking every single one of us a question we can no longer avoid. What do you actually believe is possible for your life? Because that is what Saturn and Neptune together demand you answer. Saturn strips away the comfortable delusion. Neptune refuses to let you settle for a shrunken dream. Together, they carve out a new kind of realism. Not cynicism, not fantasy, but vision tempered by discipline. And now, today, Venus has walked directly into that crucible. She is being asked the same question. What do you truly want? What love, what pleasure, what version of your life are you willing to declare out loud, boldly, without apology? But something even more interesting is already unfolding beneath this surface story. Look back just 3 days. On March 3rd, a total lunar eclipse blazed through the sky in the sign of Virgo, a blood moon, full and red and trembling with everything that full moons magnify but multiplied. Because lunar eclipses are not ordinary full moons. They are moments of radical completion. They are cosmic deadlines. The eclipse in Virgo on March 3rd was pulling threads on very specific things: habits, health, systems, the daily machinery of your life, the quiet ways you have been overworking or underserving yourself, the perfectionism that has been making you smaller. Eclipse energy is not gentle. It does not ask nicely. It removes what is no longer serving you, whether you are ready to let go or not. So 3 days ago, something may have ended, or cracked open, or revealed itself. A relationship pressure point that had been building for months may have finally surfaced. A work situation may have reached a point of undeniable clarity. An old habit may have broken, not because of your willpower, but because the eclipse pulled the foundation out from under it. You may have had a conversation you never planned to have. You may have felt a grief you could not explain. Eclipse seasons do not behave like regular astrology. They operate at the level of fate. And then, just 1 day ago, Mercury, already retrograde since February 26th, deepened into its most disorienting phase. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is among the most internally confusing of all Mercury retrograde cycles. Pisces is the sign of the boundless, of dreams, of spiritual experience, of emotions that have no clean edges. When Mercury, the planet of clear thought and linear communication, moves backward through Pisces, the mind becomes porous. The boundary between what you remember and what you imagined, between what someone said and what you felt, between intuition and projection, those lines soften, they blur. And right now, in the middle of this retrograde, in the middle of this eclipse aftermath, Venus is crossing into Aries like a flame. This is where the story becomes truly fascinating, because these 3 planetary events are not happening to you separately. They are one continuous story. The eclipse on the 3rd was the ending. The Mercury retrograde in Pisces is the fog that follows an ending, the period of internal processing where nothing is quite clear, where you cannot yet see what you are moving toward, only what you have moved away from. And Venus entering Aries today is the first breath of new direction. It is not the destination, it is not the answer, but it is movement. It is desire returning after grief. It is the moment the body remembers that it is still alive. Let us talk about what this actually feels like in a human body, in a human life right now. Some of you may have noticed something strange happening in your relationships over the past week. Conversations that should have been easy became loaded. A distance appeared out of nowhere with someone you care about. Or the opposite. A closeness returned that you had stopped expecting. Old lovers or old friendships may be surfacing in your dreams, or quite literally sliding back into your messages. This is eclipse and Mercury retrograde doing what they do. They loosen the timeline. They bring the past into the present so you can decide with your current eyes what to keep and what to finally set down. And then there is the physical dimension of this transit. Many people in eclipse windows feel profoundly tired in a way that sleep does not fix. Not the tiredness of a poor night's rest, but a deeper cellular exhaustion, as if the body is processing something at a level below the mind's awareness. If this is you, you are not broken. You are not becoming ill. You are integrating. The body is the last thing to catch up with change. And right now, the changes have been enormous. But alongside the fatigue, there has been something else. Flashes. Moments of sudden, extraordinary clarity. You are making breakfast, and out of nowhere, you know, with absolute certainty, what the right decision is about something that has confused you for months. You are driving, and a sentence forms in your mind that feels less like a thought and more like a message. This is the Mercury Pisces channel opening. Retrograde in this sign does not just scramble signals. It also tunes certain frequencies that are normally too subtle to catch. Pay attention to what arrives quietly in the next 10 days. Write it down. The insights that come during this Mercury retrograde in Pisces are not accidents. Now let us talk about what Venus entering Aries means on a personal level, because this is where the real shift begins. Aries is the first sign. It is the sign of pure self. Not the self in relation to others. That is Libra, Venus's home. Not the self as part of a larger social system. That is Aquarius. Aries is the self as a singular flame, undiluted, unapologetic, oriented entirely toward what it wants and what it is becoming. When Venus enters this sign, the energy of love and desire stops looking outward for permission. It stops asking whether it is acceptable, whether it is convenient, whether it will be received. It simply moves toward what it wants. After weeks of Pisces energy, dissolving, merging, empathizing, losing track of where you end and others begin, this is a shift that some people will feel almost like a physical click, a returning to yourself, a remembering that you have needs, that your preferences matter, that your pleasure is not a reward for productivity, but a birthright. But here is the complexity, and this is what makes March 6th truly remarkable as a date. Venus in Aries is brash and self-directed, but it is entering Aries into the arms of Saturn and Neptune. That means this surge of desire and self-direction is immediately being filtered through two very different lenses. Saturn asks, is this real? Is this something you are actually prepared to commit to? Is this a genuine desire, or is this impulse? Neptune asks, is this your dream or someone else's? Is this what your soul is reaching for, or what your wound is reaching for? These are not comfortable questions, but they are generous ones, because what they are offering together is the possibility of a love, of a life, of a vision for yourself that is both bold and true. Not just desire. Desire with architecture, not just dreams. Dreams with roots. 3 signs in particular are feeling this configuration with unusual intensity right now. The first is Aries. If you are an Aries sun, rising, or moon, the arrival of Venus into your sign is personal, in a way that may feel almost physical. Something is being returned to you that you have been without for a while. A sense of rightness in your own body. A pull towards something that excites rather than merely satisfies. But you are also being confronted by Saturn and Neptune in your own sign, which means the question of who you are becoming is not abstract right now. It is urgent. You may feel simultaneously more alive and more unsure of yourself than you have in years. Both of those feelings are telling the truth. The aliveness points toward what is emerging. The uncertainty is the old self-making room. The second is Virgo. The lunar eclipse 3 days ago moved directly through your sign, and if you are a Virgo in any configuration, particularly Virgo rising, which means Pisces is your descendant, your relationship axis, you are in the thick of something profound right now. Things have ended or are ending. Structures that kept you safe but also kept you small are quietly dismantling. Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which rules your opposite sign, is stirring everything in your relationship life, everything in the mirror. You may be seeing someone, a partner, a colleague, yourself, with completely new eyes. The eclipse gave you vision. What you do with that vision is now the question. The third is Pisces. You are living directly inside the Mercury retrograde, and if you are a Pisces sun or rising, the fog is real. But here is what most people miss about Pisces in this moment. The confusion is not the enemy. The confusion is the transition. You are between 2 chapters right now. The old story of what you believed about yourself and what was possible, and the new story that Venus entering Aries is about to make available to you. You cannot see it clearly yet. You are not supposed to. Trust the blurred edges. The picture is coming. For the remaining signs, none of you are untouched by this sky. Cancer and Scorpio are feeling the water of this moment. The emotional undercurrent of the eclipse and Mercury retrograde is running through your psychic awareness like a river. Libra, as Venus's home sign, feels her rulers crossing into Aries as a pull away from your own comfort zone, an invitation to prioritize yourself for once. Capricorn is being asked, through Saturn's presence in Aries, to reckon with authority. Not external authority, but the authority you give yourself. Leo and Sagittarius feel the fire lighting up around them and may find themselves making decisions this week that they have been postponing for months. Now let us zoom out, because everything happening on March 6th is part of a much larger story, one that has been building not just for weeks, but for years. We are living through a period of extraordinary planetary reorganization. Uranus, the great disruptor, is moving into Gemini, the sign of information, communication, ideas, and the way we understand reality. A transition that begins to reshape how entire generations consume knowledge, how the mind adapts to new speeds of change, how the stories we tell about the world are written and rewritten. Neptune is beginning a long transit through Aries, a cycle that only comes once in roughly 165 years, seeding an era in which the collective spiritual yearning of humanity will express itself through new forms of individual self-determination and creative courage. And Saturn, joining Neptune in Aries, is demanding that these new spiritual impulses be built on something solid, something real, something that can survive contact with reality. What this means, in practical terms, is that the world is at an inflection point that is both deeply personal and profoundly collective. The choices being made right now, the relationships being examined, the beliefs being released, the desires being finally named out loud, these are not just individual events. They are millions of individual events happening simultaneously, adding up to a collective turn. Every person who chooses authenticity over performance, clarity over comfortable numbness, genuine desire over inherited obligation, every single one of those choices is a thread in a tapestry that is being woven right now, in real time, across the whole of the human story. March 6th, 2026, with Venus crossing into Aries as Saturn and Neptune watch from the threshold, with the blood moon's echo still reverberating through everything it stirred 3 days ago, with Mercury turning the mind inward and opening the unconscious channels. This is not a random day. It is a day that belongs to a sequence of days that will be remembered as the beginning of something. Not the end of transition, the beginning of what transition was always building toward. So now the question turns back to you. In the next few days, watch the small things. Watch what surfaces in your dreams tonight. Watch what you cannot stop thinking about on your commute tomorrow morning. Watch who you miss suddenly and unexpectedly. Watch what you feel compelled to say that you have held back from saying. Watch where the aliveness is. That quiet electric feeling that something here matters, that this person, this idea, this choice, this conversation has weight to it. The sky is not doing this to you. It is not a force you are subject to. It is a mirror. And what it is, reflecting right now, with extraordinary precision, is the part of you that is ready. Ready to want what you actually want. Ready to love in a way that does not require you to make yourself smaller, ready to step across a threshold that you have been standing at the edge of for longer than you might like to admit. Venus in Aries, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, the blood moon's lingering pressure on everything unresolved, all of it, every planet, every degree, every aspect, is pointing at the same thing, the same threshold, the same question. Not what should you do, not what are you supposed to want, not what makes sense. What is real for you? That is the question this sky is asking, and it will keep asking it in different ways, through different events, through the equinox and the Mercury station direct on the 20th, through Jupiter's forward motion in Cancer, bringing expansion back after months of retrograde introspection. It will keep asking until you answer. How does the Venus into Aries energy feel in your life today? What has the past week been stirring up for you? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and there is something genuinely powerful about sharing these experiences in community when the sky is this charged. If this resonated with you, if something here named a feeling you have been carrying, please consider subscribing. There is much more coming as we move through this extraordinary month, and I do not want you to miss it. Thank you for being here. Now go pay attention to what you are feeling.